Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name is Stephen Harvey. I'm so glad you could join us today. Happy June. June is here. June is upon us. As always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. How you doing today on this beautiful June, the start of June, June 2nd? How you doing this evening?
I'm always happy on a Friday.
Yeah, it's Friday. It's going to be a good...
Looking forward to the show.
It's going to be a good episode of the
Got
Harvey
some
Hour.
Good topics here.
The NBA Finals has begun. It was sort of strange seeing what happened in the Celtics Heat series to what we saw last night, which was an absolute domination on all fronts between the Miami Heat and the Denver Nuggets, and that is our first topic for today's show. So the Nuggets went in and has led as much as, I believe, I'll bring it up right now, about 24. That's how much the Denver Nuggets led by at some point in this game. The Heat really never got a lead. They led by as one. That's the highest they led by. They end up losing by 11 in total. So I want to know what your thoughts were on an absolutely dominating performance by the Denver Nuggets in Game 1 at home.
Well, they were in a different class than the Heat last night. I thought they'd come out a little rusty, but they didn't skip a beat. They started out, they were ahead by 9 in the first quarter. They were ahead by 8 in the second. They outscored them 9 in the first quarter, outscored them by 8 in the second quarter, outscored them by 4 in the fourth quarter, and then they coasted. Right? Miami scored 10 more in the fourth quarter than they did, but by then it was over. So, I mean, you look at the game, the Denver won it on the foul line. They had 14. They were plus 14 on the foul line. Miami only took 2 foul shots the whole game.
That's playoff record low.
Gotta be. That is, and you know what? The Nuggets didn't shoot that well from 3. Right? No. They only shot 29.6% from 3. The Heat actually outshot them on the 3-point game. But the Heat's undrafted players, they just didn't. The stage was too big for them last night. Right? Caleb Martin, 3 points. Matt Strus, 0.
Yeah.
No points. 0 for 9 shooting 3-pointers.
Yeah.
You got to feel horrible about that, right?
Yeah. Duncan
Robinson, 3 points. Played 21 minutes. Strus played 21 minutes. Caleb Martin, 25 minutes. They got nothing from those guys, right? You got 6 points out of those guys. That's they're not going to win on that. And Jimmy Butler only had 13 points. You know, he didn't take that many shots. I guess he was trying to distribute the ball. He had seven assists. Adebayo had a great game. He had 26 points. And given that he was going up against Jokic, I think he actually performed well. He was ready to go. And Gabe Vincent had a pretty good game as well. But these guys are just they haven't got anybody that can cover Jokic. Right? He's just too much for them. He had 27 points, 10 rebounds, 14 assists, another triple-double. He averages a triple-double, it seems like, right? And then Murray, 26 points, right? He wasn't so hot from the 3 points, only 2 of 7, but he had 11 of 22 from the field. So I'm picking I picked Miami. I mean, the Nuggets in 6. I think they'll get there.
I completely agree with you. It's sort of funny, the change in the series from what we saw from Caleb Martin and Max Strus. They were Celtic killers, as well as Gabe Vincent. Jimmy Butler had a couple games, but he wasn't the Jimmy Butler we saw in the first series. Hell, he hasn't even been the Jimmy Butler since that first series with Milwaukee. It's sort of crazy how Bam had such a phenomenal game. He took 25 shots. Bam Adebayo took 25 shots. He made 13 of them, had 13 rebounds, had his playoff career high in points.
He had 5 assists, too.
And he had 5 assists, and they get crushed. The thing that I find absolutely astonishing was, in the first quarter, Jokic took a total of 1 shot, but he had 6 assists. He had 6 assists. By the end of the first half, he had a double-double already. It wasn't in rebounds, it was in assists. He had 10 points and 10 assists. And that's the great thing about Jokic. You look at him, it looks like it really seems like he does nothing. Because honestly, he doesn't need to do anything. Jokic wasn't really doing that much, at least scoring-wise. He wasn't a dominating scorer. And the Nuggets were crushing the Heat. That's what makes this team so incredible.
10 assists.
10 assists. Right, he's getting his teammates involved. And that's why Jokic could shoot poorly. By the way, he only took 3 shots in the entire first half. He made all 3 of them. But he had a double-double with 10 assists and 10 points.
Then he wound up with 27 points.
Yeah, he ended up with 27 points. He had 14 assists and 10 rebounds. Jokic literally has mastered essentially every part of basketball that you could be. He's a great defender. He's not a great defender. He's a good defender. The way to beat Jokic is being faster than him. He's not really good lateral quickness. So a super fast team could probably beat the Nuggets or at least beat Jokic. But the Heat aren't that. Jokic can rebound the ball very well. He's arguably one of the best passers in the NBA. And when he wants to, he can score at will because he has all of the post moves in the book. So the fact that Jokic wasn't really putting up a dominating performance and they were still winning at halftime by 17, that just shows you how great this team is. And something that I said on Wednesday was that Aaron Gordon is going to be a surprise for a lot of people in this series. And he started off the game, by the way. He started off one of the hot scorers for this team. In the first quarter, he put up 12 points. He ended the game with, I have it right in front of me, he ended the game with 16. So he had most of his points in that first quarter. He was dominant. And it's crazy. You shoot 0 of 10 from the field, Max Strus, 0 of 10, 0 of 9 from the 3, and most of his shots were actually, I think 9 out of the 10 of his shots were basically uncovered. So the Heat are in for a rude awakening, and there were a lot of question marks of, will the Nuggets feel the rust? Or will they be good to go, primed to go, and will the Heat be exhausted? This looked like an exhausted Heat team. And I'm going to say once again, this superstar, the superstar in the playoffs, Jimmy Butler, he hasn't been that great since the first series. I'm sorry.
I don't know. I think he was pretty good.
I haven't seen him take over a game.
The 7th game against the Celtics, I'd have to say he had a pretty good game.
But I guarantee you, the reason why they won wasn't because of Jimmy Butler. It was because of Caleb Martin. The Celtics would...
That's true, but Jimmy Butler had 26 points in that game.
He had something like that, yeah.
And
but Caleb Martin was the one that kept the lead, increased the lead, and then Jimmy Butler could just cruise control. I think
Jimmy Butler had a pretty good game in that.
But we're not talking about a game where Jimmy Butler takes over like in the Milwaukee series. Milwaukee, he put up, 56 points and then 45 points. No, he had back-to-back games. I think it was game 4 and 5. He had 56 and 45.
He's going to have to get that going if they're going to compete against the Nuggets, that's for sure.
Or at least you don't have Max Strus and Caleb Martin combining for 1 of 11 on the 3. One or the other.
Yeah.
Because we've seen Caleb Martin was a large part of the reason why they won Game 7 against the Celtics. When you shoot 0 of 9 for Max Strus and then you shoot 1 of 2, he only takes 7 shots, make one of them, which was the 3-pointer, and you're not helping out your team that much. I said this. Jamal Murray and Jimmy Butler, I'm not saying they're exact even in talent and skill, but they're even enough to say that that's a one-on-one matchup. That's a solid matchup. It's not, one guy's significantly better than the other. I don't believe that truthfully. However, who do the Heat have that can match up against Jokic?
Nobody.
Not a single player. Bam can't do it. Bam doesn't have the defensive prowess.
No, they have to double team him if they.
You're gonna put. Kevin Love didn't even play. I think he's still dealing with an injury. Haywood Highsmith, he actually was the third highest scorer on the team off the bench.
Yeah.
He had 18 points.
7 of 10 field goals.
Yeah, no, he was doing well. Kyle Lowry didn't have a great game.
Yeah.
He's
gone at the end of this year. I don't think he'll be with them anymore.
It'll be interesting to see what they do. Duncan Robinson went back to his no confidence self. 1 of 6 from the floor. His only made baskets.
Those undrafted players, they were horrible. The stage is too big for them.
This looked like the 8
You know what?
Heat
You
team.
say they looked tired.
Yeah,
they may have been suffering from the altitude.
Maybe.
Right? They mentioned that in the game during the game that the teams come in there and they are affected by that. And I think maybe the Heat suffered from that. Maybe they'll adjust to that in the next game.
I believe the next game is Sunday. So by the end of this topic, we should make our picks for game 2 at Denver. I'll bring up the point spread and everything for you later on in this topic. But I will say this about the Nuggets. This team, I doubted this team throughout the year, and admittedly, I will say that I was very, very wrong about this Nuggets team. I'll come out and say that because it's blatantly obvious. I said a while ago that there were maybe 4 teams in the West that I said the Nuggets could beat. I was wrong on every other team that I said could beat them. because I said the Lakers could beat them probably. The only 4 teams I think were the Warriors, the Timberwolves, the Pelicans, and someone else that I'm forgetting. It might have been the Thunder, I think. Those are the only teams I said the Nuggets could beat. Every other team, I had confidence that they could beat the Nuggets. I was completely wrong. This team, I'll admit, I didn't get a great look because, Denver isn't exactly a hot spot for basketball. However, Jokic is on a tear. Jokic, I think right now you could say at the moment is the best player in basketball currently.
I agree.
Because I think he actually had, right now people say, oh, Giannis is definitely the best player in basketball. Giannis,
I don't think so.
Giannis's game is very old school. It's very Shaquille O'Neal, but he weighs about, he probably has about 100 pounds of muscle more than Shaq did. Giannis is a down-low player. He drives, throws some elbows, and gets layups. He can't shoot free throws. Cannot shoot free throws. That is one huge aspect to his game that is honestly a killer. If he gets to the free throw line, you could bank on him missing a bunch. And he did in Game 5, I believe. He missed 13, 14 free throws, if I'm not mistaken. So that's the way you beat out, that's the way you beat Giannis. Jokic is fine on free throws, 82% from the free throw line. He's nearly a 40% three-point shooter, and he's shooting 63% from the floor.
And he's one of the smartest players in the league.
And he's averaging damn near a triple-double for the season. 24 points, 12
assists.
rebounds, and 9.8 assists.
He's an unselfish player, too.
Oh, he's incredible. So right now, Jokic is the best player in basketball. And
he
honestly,
doesn't look it. He doesn't look like a great player.
And that's why I think a lot of people, including myself, would pick Embiid as the MVP this year, and that's why he probably got it, was because, for me, it was more of a story. Embiid, I think, could have gotten it last year. Jokic got it. And Jokic, you could definitely say, based on analytics and everything, even on the eye test, that Jokic probably should have won this, but it's more of a story award. Jokic is so dominant right now. It's incredible to see just how crazy. He plays such a boring game. It's very technically sound. It's incredibly efficient. He's one of the most efficient players in basketball right now. I mean, on 8 shots, he got 27 points. Or 12 total shots, 8 makes. He went 10 of 12 from the free throw line. There's no aspect of Jokic's game where you're afraid of. Defensively, you're fine with it because he's good enough defensively. I think he's one of the best defensive players in defensive plus minus. I think he's also one of the top guys in defensive win shares as well. So his defense is not crippling you. He's one of the better defenders. So there's no aspect of Jokic's game, maybe on the lateral quickness, which I think is a part of, the only probably Jokic weakness you have is really quick teams can get around Jokic. But when you have Jamal Murray putting up shots, we have Aaron Gordon draining threes, we have Michael Porter Jr. doing his thing, when you got guys like Bruce Brown giving you double-digit points off the bench. I mean, the Nuggets can't miss. The Nuggets, what are you going to do with the Nuggets? At least in the Suns series, you have Ayton, who's not a great player, but he's somewhat comparable to, I'm not going to say comparable to Jokic, but he's a decent center. He's soft. He's very soft.
Had no problem with them, with the Suns. No problem.
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. They went.
They blew
6.
them out in Game 6.
No, they went 6 with the Suns only because KD and Booker had to average 70 plus in 2 straight games at home. That's the only reason why. And people say, "Oh, CP3 was in there." The Suns go, "No, he couldn't have." The CP3 was in Game 1. Nuggets took care of him at home.
The Nuggets don't really have a elite point guard.
No,
that's because Jokic is almost like in a way, he's a point center.
If you're talking about distributor, yes, but Jamal Murray, Jamal Murray is elite. I mean, we should remember in the bubble.
But he's not a point guard.
I believe he's technically a point. Yeah, I think he is the point guard, but he doesn't play like a point guard.
Forward.
No, Jamal Murray's a guard.
Oh.
Jamal Murray's a guard, but they don't have a true point guard like a distributor.
Yeah, they say point guard. It says point guard.
They don't have like a Chris Paul. However, I will say this though: Jamal Murray still had 10 assists in the game, so he was getting the ball around.
Yeah.
So this team is dynamic on every single front. Aaron Gordon's a great defender. Jokic is a pretty good defender. Jamal Murray gets you a bucket. Aaron Gordon and Jokic get buckets. Michael Porter Jr. can get you a bucket and plays decent defense. Where are the Nuggets' weaknesses? You say the bench. The bench is put in the work. They're giving you points. They're being efficient. If this series goes more than 5, I think the Nuggets win in 6 or 7 because I think this Heat team will simply be too tired because they need to put in so much more work because they were the 8th seed. They lost in the play-in. They had to literally play every single possible game you need to play besides all like the game 6, 7s that they need to. They almost played every single potential game in these playoffs that you could possibly play. And because their team is a bunch of undrafted players, and because you don't have superstars all down, up and down the lineup, you really have Jimmy Butler and Bam's a star at the very best. They need to put in so much more work than every other team does. If Jokic has a bad game, you have Jamal Murray and Aaron Gordon. If Jokic is on and Jamal Murray's off, you have Jokic and Gordon. If Gordon has a bad game, you have Jokic and Murray. If Butler's off, you're banking on Gabe Vincent, Max Strus, and Caleb Martin. Bam's going to do his thing, hopefully. But you're banking on a bunch of really nobodies. And then it showed. They were the 27th ranked three-point team. Now they shot better. But you also had you had two guys who combined for 1 of 11 from 3. And they're the reason why, in large part, the Celtics had a problem.
I think that the bench of the undrafted players will rebound. Maybe not in the next game, but they can't be any worse, right? I mean, both two of them had 3 points, and the other one had nothing.
Right.
So you got to believe that they're going to rebound, and I think they will.
I fully expect them to.
I think they can make the games a little more competitive here. They may not win, but they'd be a lot more competitive. I mean, they were behind by 21 points at the end of the third quarter.
Yeah.
That game was over, basically.
I like what Mike Malone, the head coach of the Nuggets, said after the game. He basically told his team, and imagine being in the huddle hearing this. He said, the Heat took the Bucs game 1 at home.
Yeah, I heard this.
They took game 1 in Madison Square Garden. They took game 1 at
Boston Garden.
In Boston Garden. They're not going to let the Heat take game 1 in Denver. And they destroyed them. And this game was never close. It was within 9 some point in the second half. But the difference is when the Nuggets were only up by 9 and the Heat started to resurge a little bit, in my mind, if this was the Celtics, I'd be like, oh, the Celtics are choking. I was never concerned with the Nuggets. Never at all. Because the Nuggets really aren't known for their just giving up random leads and choking. The Celtics have a history of it this season. They're one of the worst clutch teams in the NBA. So now the Nuggets come in. I'm not, unless this game is like a nip and tuck, claw for claw game. I'm not saying sweep, but I would not be shocked if the Nuggets just win all 4 games straight up. It would be. Because if Jimmy Butler isn't dropping 30-something points a game, how are they going to win a game? If Jimmy Butler almost had a triple-double in this game, 13, 7, and 7. But it was negated because they were just down by so much.
Yeah.
They could never get a lead.
I still think the Heat have a chance to make it competitive, but I do think the Nuggets are going to win the series.
I picked the Nuggets in 6, and I believe we talked about it pre-show. I believe you picked them as well.
Yeah.
So we will see Nuggets dominant team. It's going to be interesting to see how they do moving forward in Game 2 of Sunday. Let's make our picks real quick. I'll bring up the point spread. We could choose who plays. Game 2, 8 p.m. on Sunday. 76.7% chance to win according to ESPN Analytics. The point spread is minus 8.5 as today. Who are you picking? Let's go point spread and who wins the game.
I'll take the Nuggets, but I don't think they beat the point spread.
So you say Heat plus 8, Denver. Denver. What's it called? You'll take Denver to win. You want Heat plus 8.5.
Yeah.
I'll take everything straight up. I'll go Nuggets all the way because I mean, think about it. Jokic honestly compared to everyone else had a decently poor first half. At least scoring wise, he was distributing the ball, but scoring wise, he took 3 shots and you were up by 17 at the half. That still blows my mind how that's even possible. I'll take everything straight up. So Nuggets win game 2, go up 2-0 in the series, but we will see, and we'll talk about that Monday. Let's get into some football. Because we got a QB competition, one of potentially a few, if you consider the Patriots quarterback competition, which we'll talk about after the break here. But let's talk about the Bucs for a second here. Because Baker Mayfield, as we all know, as a lot of you know, got picked up by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he's going to face off against, I believe it's second-year or third-year quarterback Kyle Trask. And we got our first look at what this QB competition looks like, and we're going to bring it up right now. That's Baker Mayfield in practice. Overthrows a receiver. What? These are all wide
Wasn't
open.
even near.
Not even in coverage. Oh, what about Kyle Trask? This has to be better. Let's take a look at this. Off target, but he's still able to get the catch, it seems. Maybe he dropped it. This is Kyle Trask. Oh, too far off. Oh, and here's Baker Mayfield. Maybe he'll do a little bit better. Hopefully. Let's see. Takes the snap. Back in the pocket. Throwing. And it's overthrown. That one might have been caught. But yeah, not looking too good. There's a decent
A little
throw.
better.
Not looking too good for the Buccaneers at the quarterback situation. So Baker Mayfield, I mean, how confident do you feel about the Bucs season going into? They're one of the worst teams right now.
Yeah, I think they'll have a terrible season.
Terrible. I think I gave you the schedule in front of you, but
I think I ranked them as maybe the worst record in the league next year.
One of them, yeah.
One of them.
I think we're trying to figure out whether or not the Cardinals would be worse.
Yeah.
Because I think Cardinals going to be bad. I gave you the schedule in front of you. So what do you, like, you go through that schedule real quick. Who do you really think the Bucs have a chance against? You don't need to go down win for win, but
Well, they might beat the Bears. That would be one win.
maybe. But you got let's see, you got the Vikings, Bears, Eagles, Saints, Lions, Falcons. Falcons you play twice. Bills, Texans, Titans.
I'd say they might beat the Falcons once.
Maybe. I would say the Colts you have a chance.
Houston,
I don't know. I think you could maybe beat the Colts potentially, but there's really no teams that the Bucs have a chance. I could definitely see them winning 4 games.
I see 3, maybe
4 games at the very most. I mean, if your quarterback competition is trash and slightly better trash, slightly cleaner trash, I mean, the Bucs are terrible. It's a question of what do you go with Baker Mayfield and just pray he has a moment, try to win?
I think he'll wind up being the starter, but we'll see how he does. He had a terrible. It was in this division once before, and last year, and he was terrible.
Yeah.
So
he had the most batted balls until, I think he was not a starter after week 6 or 7. He had the most batted balls up until week like 15. Think about that. You play less than half a season. You have the most batted balls for more than double the weeks you play. Like, that's insane. So honestly, 3 or 4 wins is the Bucs season. Honestly, but like, think about the players on that team. That team still has Chris Godwin, still has Mike Evans. You got Rashad White in the backfield, who actually showed a lot of promise last year. Your defense, Devin White wants more money. You brought back Levante David. You got Shaq Barrett coming off of his, I believe he got an Achilles injury that put him out. Like, you have a lot of talent. Do try to move a Chris Godwin. Move a Mike Evans. Because my guess is you're probably going to go for Caleb Williams in the draft next year. That's my guess. USC quarterback. He's arguably one of the best prospects we've seen in like a decade. Probably since, I don't know, Andrew Luck maybe? I don't know. Well, we'll have to see. But he's projected the number 1 pick. If I had to take a guess right now to see, who will get the number 1 pick, it's really between 2 teams, Arizona and Tampa Bay. And once again, the NFC South is still probably the most trash division in the NFL. I mean, think about the quarterbacks. You got Desmond Ridder, Derek Carr, who should win that division. You have Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask, who we just saw couldn't hit a wide open receiver half the time. And then you got potentially a new quarterback in Bryce Young, who his team isn't that great offensively. The offensive line needs a lot of work. Your running game needs a little bit of work. But like this
they have a brand new
terrible.
coach too.
They do, Frank Reich. Yeah,
Frank Reich. I think Frank Reich's a good coach, but I think they should have hung on to the other guy. Steve
Wilkes. Yeah,
I feel bad for him. I think he got gypped.
I agree.
Yeah, it's sort of similar to when the Raiders let that guy go. They took him to the playoffs.
Rich Bisaccia. Yeah.
He wound up. Now he's on the Green Bay.
He's a Green Bay special teams
coach.
I believe
Come
so.
on.
Yeah. No, they should. We both said Steve Wilkes should have gotten the job, and Bisaccia should have gotten the job.
Yeah,
100%.
I don't know why he didn't get a job this year. The Bisaccia.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
Good question. So really, like the Bucs, I mean, they won the division with Tom Brady having an 8-9 record. It's the first time since 2002 Brady had a losing record, and they made the playoffs with an 8-9 record. I mean, this division's terrible. Can you win?
I don't think the Patriots had a losing record in 2002.
Oh, for first losing season in his career, right? In his career,
they never had a losing season. They didn't make the playoffs.
They tied. They were 8-8 in 2002, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought they won 9 games that year.
I think they. I'll look it up right now. But still, you won the division and made the playoffs with an 8-9 record. Can Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask get you there? Hell, why don't I see Blaine Gabbert? Is Blaine Gabbert still even on the roster? What happened to him? Why isn't he getting an opportunity?
Yeah.
Let's see. Can I even see who's on the team? Let's see. Roster and players. Let's see. Because if he's on the team, no, they don't. John Wolford. He was he played a playoff game. He was with the Rams before. So, I mean, I'm shocked that they didn't keep Blaine Gabbert because you're relying on Baker Mayfield, who has the weirdest weirdest throw probably. And you talk about Mac Jones sailing people. I mean, we saw was it the fullback, I believe. Threw it over his head. Oh, it was a tight end. Flew right over his head. I mean, these are practice throws. Me and you could make these throws.
Yeah, it's their first practice. So
yeah, but it's like Baker Mayfield.
They got to get warmed up.
People were ripping on me when after Baker Mayfield, because I made a clip about how Baker Mayfield's lucky to have another starting job when he was with the Rams, and literally the day I uploaded that, he had that comeback against the Raiders. Yeah, and all of a sudden people started flooding my comment section about how bad that take was. Same people who are rooting for Baker Mayfield now. Did you see this clip? He's missing, he might lose to Kyle Trask. I mean, this guy made the playoffs. You're going to lose to Kyle Trask.
Where did he come from anyway, Trask?
Kyle Trask, he was drafted. He went to Florida.
He went to Florida?
Yeah, by the Bucs. Second round. He's second-round quarterback.
Second-round quarterback, huh?
He's terrible, too. But this Bucs team is bad. It's going to look bad.
I think that's right. And I do think that the coach, while I like him a lot, I don't think he's a head. Yeah. Todd Bowles should be a head coach. He didn't have any luck with the Jets, and he really didn't have much luck with the Bucs last year when he had the greatest quarterback of all time playing for him.
Yeah. No, and same thing with Josh McDaniels. Josh McDaniels, I think, is a significantly better coordinator than he is head coach. And we've seen it right now. He's had 3 seasons, I believe, 3 or 4 seasons as a head coach. He's been pretty bad in every single one of them. The first season, he had that great comeback with the Broncos, going like 7-1, making the playoffs and winning a playoff game with Tim Tebow. But outside of that, he's been terrible. Hell, we saw what Derek Carr looked like this year with Josh McDaniels and Devontae Adams. Like, that was bad. And now he has Jimmy G, and Jimmy G might not even be ready to play for the season.
He'll be ready. I bet he'll be there.
Hey, he has to pass a physical, otherwise the Raiders can get off him for nothing.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what that situation is. But this Bucs season, I think Bucs fans are shaking in their boots right now.
They should be.
Because they got trash and slightly cleaner trash. I'm giving Kyle Trask
they might want
to
unload some of the really high-quality players they've got for draft picks, Yeah, they got some good pieces there. Mike Evans. Chris Godwin.
Yeah.
Yeah. They might want to trade one of those guys. Just get some draft picks because I think they're going to be very poor.
I agree, but the question is, how good will this draft class be? Because if you can get another, actually, no. You could think about this. I think Mike Evans and Chris Godwin can both get you at least 1 first-round pick each. Probably. You also have a wide receiver in this draft class named Marvin Harrison Jr., the son of NFL record holder Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
Actually, no, they passed the record now.
Yeah.
Mike
was
Thomas.
a great receiver.
Phenomenal receiver. With Peyton Manning, like I said, setting records. He very well could go number 2 in this draft. It could be Caleb Williams and Harrison Jr. back to back. Could the Bucs get a first-round pick, swap